Well, now the phrase trumped up charges has new meaning. Donald Trump has delivered what is literally the thinnest federal indictment you will ever see. It amounts to 2 pages only because the 2 counts, so-called, in this thin indictment are the same count, the same so-called crime, which we will show you in a moment, James Comey's testimony to the Senate. And so they use that same sentence that James Comey gave in his testimony to create these 2 different so-called counts. The first count is what this indictment calls that he made materially false and fictitious fraudulent statement to the United States Senate. That is not something that Donald Trump has ever taken seriously before now. And then they use that same so-called false statement to constitute an obstruction charge, obstruction of the United States Senate. That's what this indictment is. We've literally never seen anything like it in any way, either one of those counts. James Comey responded to the indictment tonight with this video.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
When James Comey referred to his family in that statement, he obviously is including his daughter, Maurene Comey, former federal prosecutor who was fired by Donald Trump and Donald Trump's Justice Department. She was the lead prosecutor in the Ghislaine Maxwell prosecution. She is the federal prosecutor who knew more about Ghislaine Maxwell and her prosecution than anyone else, and Ghislaine Maxwell's co-conspirator in sex trafficking, Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump made sure that she was fired before Donald Trump sent his criminal defense lawyer, his personal criminal defense lawyer, to Florida to interview Ghislaine Maxwell, now that Donald Trump's personal criminal defense lawyer is his deputy attorney general. He had to make sure that Maurene Comey was out of the way before he did that. That's one of the people James Comey referred to tonight in that video statement. And that quote, that line that he used, fear is the tool of a tyrant, is what his daughter, Maurene Comey, said when she was fired by the Justice Department in an email to her colleagues. She said, if a career prosecutor can be fired without reason, fear may seep into the decisions of those who remain. Do not let that happen. Fear is the tool of a tyrant, wielded to suppress independent thought. Instead of fear, let this moment fuel the fire that already burns at the heart of this place. A fire of righteous indignation at abuses of power, of commitment to seek justice for victims, of dedication to truth above all else. Donald Trump does not often delete social media posts. That is the rarest thing Donald Trump can do with a social media post, but he did it. He did it with the social media post in which he ordered his attorney general to bring this prosecution to his attorney general publicly. Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time, all talk, no action, nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell. And there is Donald Trump pronouncing guilt on James Comey while he's ordering his attorney general to make James Comey a criminal defendant. There's Donald Trump telling all of those grand jurors who heard this case, all of them, that James Comey is guilty as hell. That's Donald Trump telling the entire jury pool that will be considered for this case in the Eastern District of Virginia that James Comey is guilty as hell. That is something that no president has ever done before Donald Trump. There was a moment when President Richard Nixon let slip publicly that he thought Charles Manson was guilty of those mass murders in Los Angeles, and President Nixon had to immediately retract that in a statement in writing for fear that that would create a mistrial in the prosecution of Charles Manson, and for fear that that would create prejudicial publicity that could harm Charles Manson ever getting a free trial, a fair trial in this country. Donald Trump has thrown that convention aside.
For Republicans, the current trajectory raises concern.
Indicted. This is now all about all about this exchange that James Comey had with Senator Rafael Cruz in the Senate Judiciary Committee almost exactly 5 years ago tonight. Here is that exchange in its entirety. This is the entire body of evidence in this case. Here it is.
On May 3rd, 2017, in this committee, Chairman Grassley asked you point blank, quote, have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation? You responded under oath, quote, never. He then asked you, quote, have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton administration? You responded again under oath, no. Now, as you know, Mr. McCabe, who works for you, has publicly and repeatedly stated that he leaked information to the Wall Street Journal and that you were directly aware of it and that you directly authorized it. Now, what Mr. McCabe is saying and what you testified to this committee cannot both be true. One or the other is false. Who's telling the truth?
I can only speak to my testimony. I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave in May of 2017.
So your testimony is you've never authorized anyone to leak. And Mr. McCabe, if he says contrary, is not telling the truth. Is that correct?
Again, I'm not going to characterize Andy's testimony, but mine is the same today.
The problem for Donald Trump and his inexperienced new prosecutor leading this prosecution is that the Department of Justice, in their Inspector General's investigation of this exact issue, found that James Comey was indeed telling the truth. Here is what the Inspector General's report has to say about exactly what Senator Cruz was just asking about. The Inspector General says, we found that in late October 2016, McCabe authorized special counsel to discuss with Wall Street Journal reporter Devlin Barrett issues related to the FBI's Clinton Foundation investigation. So there's the Inspector General report saying
federal prosecutors in Virginia's Eastern District unsealed a 2-page indictment against former FBI Director James Comey on September 26, charging him with making a materially false statement to Congress and obstructing the Senate. The counts stem from identical testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee in May 2017, where Comey denied authorizing leaks related to the FBI's Clinton Foundation investigation. Critics, including legal experts, decry the case as the thinnest federal indictment in memory, accusing the Trump administration of weaponizing the Justice Department for political retribution. Comey responded swiftly in a video statement, vowing to fight. My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees. And you shouldn't either. He invoked his daughter's words. Fear is the tool of a tyrant, echoing Maurene Comey's 2017 email upon her firing by Trump's DOJ. As lead prosecutor in Ghislaine Maxwell's sex trafficking trial, Maurene Comey was ousted just before Trump's personal criminal defense lawyer, Todd Blanche, now Deputy AG, interviewed Maxwell in Florida. The move cleared the path for that session, raising questions about shielding Epstein associates, whom Trump once called a terrific guy and closest friend for a decade. Trump deleted a Truth Social post from September 25th, where he publicly pressured AG Pam Bondi. Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements. What about Comey, Adam Schiff, Letitia James? They're all guilty as hell. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. The post pronounced Comey's guilt before charges, potentially prejudicing the jury pool in the Eastern District. Legal observers compare it to Richard Nixon's retracted Manson comment, which risked mistrials. Trump's declaration lacks apology, violating norms against presidential interference. The indictment hinges on a 5-year-old exchange with Senator Ted Cruz, Republican Texas, who grilled Comey on denying leaks, while then Deputy Director Andrew McCabe claimed Comey authorized them. Comey stood firm. I stand by what the testimony I gave in May of 2017. Cruz pressed, your testimony is you've never authorized anyone to leak. Mr. McCabe is not telling the truth, is that correct? Comey replied, I'm not going to characterize Andy's testimony, but mine is the same today. A 2019 DOJ Inspector General report contradicts the charges, exonerating Comey. It found McCabe authorized leaks to the Wall Street Journal in October 2016, then lacked candor to Comey and investigators by denying it. We found that McCabe lacked candor when he told Comey that McCabe had not authorized the disclosure and did not know who did. The report states, McCabe admitted authorizing it in a November 2017 interview, but falsely claimed informing Comey immediately. The IG cleared Comey of wrongdoing, noting he believed McCabe's denials. Prosecutors likely withheld the full report from the grand jury, as it's inconceivable jurors would indict after reading it, observers say. Trump's ouster of the prior U.S. attorney, who refused charges, and appointment of Halligan, a novice from his defense team, fuels claims of a trumped-up case. Halligan's deputy, a career prosecutor, concurs. Insufficient evidence for probable cause. Comey's indictment, amid Trump's demands for prosecuting Schiff and James, exemplifies retribution. Bondi faces MAGA backlash for delays, with influencers like Laura Loomer calling for her firing. Arizona, Democrat Adelita Grijalva's special election win bolsters a discharge petition for Epstein files, now at 218 signatures, forcing a vote despite Speaker Mike Johnson's panic and threats to co-signers like Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. Trump's deleted post, pronouncing guilt, taints the trial, echoing Nixon's error but without retraction. As Comey urges, voting, like your beloved country, depends upon it. The case tests judicial independence against executive overreach. With Maurene Comey's Maxwell expertise silenced, questions linger on Epstein ties. Legal watchdogs predict dismissal or acquittal, but the damage to DOJ